Mm. Uh, what? What? Boy, how many times do I have to tell you not to wake me up till my new game comes out? Ugh. What? Huh? Whoa, it's out now?
Yeah, it's finally that time now. So get off the bed and let's do this. Come on.
Whoa, what am I doing on this bed? Come on. Yeah, boy, it's time to finally play. I'm back. Whoa!
Yeah, God of War time. Woo! All right, time to play the manliest game of the year, filled to the brim with violence and cussing and a lot of adult themes. Oh, it's so great to be an adult because when you're an adult, you can do stuff like this. You can play such amazing games like this, and it truly makes you feel like a man. Because, yeah, I'm a man. Yeah, God of War, God of War, God of War, God of War, God of War. Woo! Let's play this. Oh, yeah, Kratos. Just gotta wait for Kratos. Woohoo! Oh, there you are.
Hey, boy, I got a quick question.
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah, could you explain to me why this Bluey plush was on your shelf?
Um. Uh. That is not mine.
Oh, then what was it doing on your shelf?
That is my niece's. She came over one time and left that here, so I'm saving it for her till she comes over because I do not have my driver's license yet, and I can't drive over there, and she lives pretty far away. So,
Uh-huh, and when was the last time she visited?
uh, 2017. Yeah.
Uh-huh, yeah, well, Bluey made, her debut in 2018.
Yeah. Well, you see, those were Okay, fine. Yes, it's mine. Okay. Look, I was upset because my cat. I needed something joyful that isn't completely about violence, and a lot of parents who have kids love this show. Love that show. Have you seen its IMDb score? Like, seriously, it's praised by many that aren't just kids. So you see, I can't always just play adult things because sometimes I want to feel like I'm young. And because adult life is horrible, okay? It is. You gotta work, you gotta drive, you gotta get married, and you get divorced, and you have to pay child support. So sometimes it sucks. I mean, I kind of do want to have a family, but I'm far from ready for that. So you know what? Make fun of me all you want. I don't care. Okay? It's just I choose what I want to do with my life. Okay? I love playing these types of games, but sometimes I want to watch something that isn't completely about violence. Sometimes I deserve to watch something very joyful in my life because sometimes I want to feel happiness.
Boy, it's okay. I understand.
Uh, really?
Yeah, here. Yeah, you are very brave to show that you have a soft spot for stuff that, isn't insanely violent or vulgar. Yeah, it's fine because someday you might be a parent. Uh, Definitely not as good as a parent as me, but you might be a good parent, and it's good to show to see other stuff that kids, if you have kids, might enjoy. Oh yeah, also, I am really sorry that I brutally murdered you, for waking me up that one time when my new game wasn't out yet. Yeah, you really didn't deserve it. By the way, I really admire your Tom and Jerry collection over there. It is amazing how much you love it so much that you just decide to collect as much merch as you possibly can. Well, go on, let's play.
See, Pikachu? He understands, unlike you, you pika douche. Alright, let's play God of War.
Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew Davis, me once again. Welcome back to another video game review. This time it is going to be on God of War Ragnarok. I finally get to talk about this game. I've been waiting to talk about this game forever, so now I can finally talk about it. The freezing winds of Fimbulwinter have come to Midgard, making survival for Kratos, Atreus, and Mimir in the Norse wilds even more challenging than before. Kratos, still bearing the knowledge of his past mistakes, wants to spare Atreus the bloody lessons he learned from his conflict with gods. He wants to keep his son safe above all, and their confrontation with Baldur has vindicated the belief that only tragedy will come from further entanglements with the Aesir. Together, Kratos and Atreus will have to make a choice about which path they will take. Whatever they choose will define the fate of all those living in the Nine Realms as Ragnarok approaches. Whatever your choice of combat strategy, the enemies that await in God of War Ragnarok will be ready. The realms have grown harsher, and a whole host of new creatures across Norse mythology will test your skills. And throughout your journey, you play, of course, once again as Kratos, and of course, got Kratos' son from the first game, the boy Atreus, returns. Atreus is much older now. Well, not that much older. He's still pretty young. So it takes place after the events of God of War, the first game, the 2018 game. That game was pretty much perfect. And I put it at number 2 on my best games of 2018 list. I'm not sure if I kind of regret that now because I put Red Dead Redemption 2 on the top of my list. That game was also amazing. I gave that a perfect score as well. But after thinking about it, I'm not sure if I probably should have put God of War 2018 at the top spot because that game was pretty much perfect. Not only is that a faithful reboot, that was also a great retelling of, well, it's not really a retelling. It's canon to the original series. Basically, Kratos, spoilers, by the way, if you play God of War 3, you know that Kratos technically killed himself, but that game pretty much, the 2018 game pretty much reset his life. I mean, the game and, like the reboot series and the original series kind of basically are in the same, well, not really in the same universe. Basically, what I mean is, if you combine them together, then it makes a lot more sense. Now, of course, I was really anticipating this game, like, who wasn't anticipating it because of how great the first game was. That game was just so good that game came out a week before my cat Selector and Mochi were born. I mean, of course, with Kratos calling Atreus boy throughout the entire game, he's pretty much the reason I like to call my cat Lecter boy, like, all the time. He's pretty much the reason why I always call him boy.
Hey, boy. Nectar boy. Hey, Nectar boy. Hey. Hey. Nectar boy. Oh. Good morning, boy. Good morning, Nectar boy. Boy. Boy, do you see me playing? Boy. Boy. Boy, look what I'm playing. You see that, boy?
Though, of course, because Atreus has grown, he doesn't really call him boy anymore, which might disappoint you guys, but that really shouldn't be a bother, because, of course, Atreus has grown now, and honestly, it's kind of nice to see him call him by his name, though other people in the game kind of refer to him as somebody else, which I am absolutely not going to spoil. Now, I'm going to try my best not to spoil any, like, story elements. Gameplay elements I am going to spoil, so I will warn you about that, but I tried my best to not, like, watch any gameplay footage. I mean, I did watch gameplay footage, some, when the game was starting to come out, but I'm just going to try my best not to spoil any main big story elements. Now, of course, because Elden Ring came out this year, I pretty much consider that to be this year's game of the year. Well, I figured that pretty much nothing after that would beat it, especially since Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom wouldn't be coming out till next year. So Is God of War Ragnarok better than Elden Ring? Well, I can definitely say this. It is more than deserving the title of one of the greatest of the year, and it might just be the best game to play on the PS5. When I did my best games on the PS5 list, I put Elden Ring as number one. That's the best multiple console or basically multi-gen game to play, but in terms of exclusives, this is definitely the best one to play. Now, it is on the PS4, but it's made to be played on the PS5 because it's one of those scenarios where not everybody has a PS5, not all PlayStation owners have a PS5 yet. So basically, that's why they're still porting it to the PS4. But the PS5 is really where you're going to get all the graphics and the detail. Because, wow, this game just blew the original game's graphics out of the water. It is outstanding. It is like flawless when it comes to the graphics. It is beautiful to look at. Of course, it's still the scenario where 30 FPS for better resolution or 60 FPS for not as good resolution. I put it at 60 FPS and it still looks absolutely outstanding that I didn't even notice the difference. The graphics still looked 4K. They still looked absolutely outstanding and it was just eye candy. But of course, graphics aren't everything. How is the actual game? Well, the gameplay is more on the lighter side, but it still has a lot to offer in terms of its gameplay. It still has the same gameplay as the 2018 game, but they added new stuff in here. Well, not really that much. You still have your same weapons, though you do get another weapon much later down the line, which intends to be very helpful, especially when you're trying to get all the collectibles. And there are a lot to collect, and some side stories you can do as well as you're doing the main story. I tend to do the main story first and do the side missions second, because the side missions are mostly just collecting things for a specific person. And there isn't that many side missions, but it didn't hide the fact that the story was still very lengthy. And there's a way that this game makes the gameplay different than the 2018 game. Well, let me just say this. Atreus has a much bigger part in here. Not only has he grown as a person, but he has grown as a flat-out character too. Like, not in terms of like growing up like in length, but he has really grown a lot. In fact, there are times in this game where it's mostly more about him than Kratos. And while Atreus had a really big part in the original game, he has a much bigger part here. And there are times when him and Kratos, okay, big spoiler to the gameplay, but there are times when him and Kratos separate in this game. Meaning by that, yeah. You want to know how Atreus is a much bigger part in here than he was in the first game? Well, you can play as him. That's right, guys. Now, when you come to God of War, you expect to play as Kratos, and you don't really want to play as anybody else because Kratos is just the perfect protagonist for this game. But playing as Atreus, there are times where I enjoyed playing as him more than I did as Kratos, at least in this game, because, wow, he is just as good as Kratos. In fact, he also has a rage thing that he, like Kratos does, when he has like a rage power up when you just, and then he just makes him more powerful. He has something similar to that, though it is far different than what his father has. And it is something that I just would not even believe. Like, it is that I am not going to spoil. You're just going to have to play the game for yourself. And there's a lot of reasons to play this game. And I need to explain more about Atreus. You know, it just goes to show how Atreus definitely feels more like a protagonist in this. I feel like because he's grown more, there's definitely more depth to him, and the way it focuses on him a lot more, and he interacts with characters. And it's very strong when he develops relationships with other characters as well. There are even times where you're playing as him and he has an ally of his own to help him out, and they're not escort missions, which is something that I found that God of War 2018 did perfectly. Having a companion that feels like a real companion and not just some... It's basically like The Last of Us, where Ellie was not an escort, she could take care of herself. Right here, Atreus has to be one of the most memorable video game companions, like, ever. And the fact that that companion has companions of his own when he's alone. And one thing, I didn't even mention this in my review of the 2018 game, was how the camera angles never change. To anybody who has seen 1917, you know how the camera angle in that film never changes, how it just basically looks like one long shot? God of War did that before that film even existed, just a year before that movie existed, and it's impressive. Like, when you fast travel, it never, like, goes to a loading screen. When it switches out character perspectives from Atreus to Kratos, that never changes either. It's something that I was visually impressed by, and I should have appreciated more. It was something I never even noticed, and the fact that I noticed it now, it blew me away. And the game still has that cinematic feel that the first game had. I mean, the first game did a lot to separate it apart from the original games, because not just going for a third-person route, but for a story perspective. Because, I mean, the stories in the trilogy were good, but I feel like Santa Monica just really went all out here, just making it far different and showing that while stories can be just as strong as the gameplay, and I feel like the story is still just as strong, if not even more strong, than the actual gameplay. And the combat is still just as satisfying as ever. And the bosses, too, they were epic, especially when it comes towards the end of the game. No spoilers, but the conclusion, it was perfect for me. Like, it was everything that I wanted from the conclusion. And this is not the type of game where you can just hack and slash away at enemies. No, you have to time your attacks. It's kind of like Dark Souls, though not really, but sometimes when it comes to the bosses, it kind of reminds me of Dark Souls, just not as frustrating. Though it can be frustrating if you're putting it on higher difficulties, and trust me, if you do put this game on higher difficulties, if you play this on higher difficulties, then chances are you are going to die a lot, you're going to get your ass handed to. I tend to just stick with the easy difficulty if you just want to make it through the story, or if you want to review this game as quickly as possible. Though I really wanted to take my time with this game. I wanted to take my time with the characters and seeing what stories they had. And when it comes to the other characters, they had really strong stories of their own. When you play alongside them, they have stories to tell of their own. And some of the characters have familiar names, so you're easily going to remember what their names are. Some of the names are kind of hard for me to pronounce because, of course, it's Greek mythology, so it's kind of hard for me to make out how to say their names. I mean, they're on screen, but the names are on screen when it comes to, like, the text boxes and stuff, but whatever. The characters, they were still great, and, of course, you can always still look online, though. There was this one character who was kind of a dick to Atreus. I mean, he's kind of supposed to be, but I really didn't like him. And I'm not going to say if he gets defeated in the end, but he is more of a villain, or one of the, like, the game has multiple villains, and I'm not going to spoil who the villains are because it doesn't really indicate who the villains are. Like, is it Thor, or... Like, we all knew that Thor was going to be in the game because he appeared at the very end of the last game. And when it comes to Thor in this game, I kind of liked Thor in here than I did in Thor Love and Thunder. And that's saying something right there. I mean, I liked Thor Love and Thunder, but it really was nowhere near as good as Thor Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok, Thor Ragnarok. It's not a coincidence at all. We all know that. But yeah, characters and all that, they all really stand out, separating apart from the first game, which I know I'm bringing up the first game a lot, but how can I not? I mean, that game was just so perfect to me that I don't see how they could boost that up. But how about just adding more characters and adding more to the gameplay and the way you play as two characters, two who you've grown really attached to? I mean, Kratos in the first game or the original God of War games, he was a complete psychopath. Of course, it's because, he was tricked into killing his family, and how he was really hard to redeem when it came to fighting enemies. Right here, because he still has a loved one, he is not as pissed off as he was, and that's a change that I actually found very strong, because him and Atreus' relationship is very strong here, and you care for their bond, and you care for both of them. Like, Atreus is a very strong companion to Kratos, and how that character has grown. It just shows that Kratos does have a soft spot in him. And the moments they have together in this game are even more strong than the 2018 game. Like, they have a really strong bond that there are some moments that really made me tear up a bit, because there are times where the game just melts your heart with the amount of heart that it has, not just with Kratos and Atreus, but with other characters as well, as, Mimir, the head that you had in the first game, makes a return. He was also a really strong character. And here as well, he has just as much depth as he did in the original game, how he's your companion. Even though he lost his body, he's still a very reasonable guy, and he's basically like a secondary father to Atreus. And the way that the game ties in the story together with the series as a whole, it makes it feel like it's fully canon. In fact, it does seem that it is fully canon. And in fact, it is, because, no spoilers, but it does kind of bring back some of the story to the series. So I feel like it definitely shows that the whole series is canon. And I kind of wanted it to be canon, so seeing that it really was fully canon just made it all the more worth it. But even if it wasn't, the 2018 game is a reboot. It has a different perspective and stuff like that, but it's the type of reboot that isn't necessarily a flat out, like, new gaming franchise. It's just a reboot that's basically just makes the gameplay just completely different, just like with Doom 2016. Now, of course, one thing that I find super impressive about this game is that I played this game at launch, and the game never glitched out. There wasn't a time where the game just completely stopped. And I played this game and never closed the application. I played the game all the way through till the end of the story, and I never got a single crash. This is the most well-polished game to come out this year. And that's something that is very rare with new games. Like, it shows that this game was ready to be put out. So I love how Santa Monica is really taking their time with this game, and this game isn't just coming out because the Game of the Year awards are coming out next month. No, this is a game that the developers want to put time and effort into. And with the story and the graphics, it shows that they care. They put so much care into this game. And the game isn't relying on microtransactions or loot boxes. It's not the type of game where you need to play online with other people. This is a single-player experience that just really just has you... I don't even know how to put it, but it's a single-player experience that needs to be experienced by everyone. And it's more than worth full price. And this is something, these are the types of games that I want to play more of. These are the types of games that I feel like are more worth it than most multiplayer games to come out nowadays. Even with Overwatch 2, despite that being a free-to-play game, that game, it just does so many downgrades from the first game. And honestly, I didn't really see myself replaying it that much. And I'm going to be honest, that game was kind of disappointing. So Blizzard, I feel like, barely tried here, but Santa Monica, with their game, they really did try here, and they succeeded in every single way. From beginning, middle to end, from the story to the combat, all of it is present, and it is done in the best possible way. Without going too serious, there are some very lighthearted moments here and there. In fact, there are some characters that are made for comedy, but also have great character to them. Like Brock, the mechanic or whatever, the merchant. And I didn't even get into that. Of course, you can still upgrade your weapons. You can still upgrade your armor and stuff. There are light RPG elements that were present in the first game, and they're back in here as well, and they're pretty much the same, but of course, you can get better gear as you progress throughout the game, and of course, with the side missions you do. Throughout my 21-hour journey with the main story, and of course, I haven't even gone back to the other missions, the side missions, but I want to. This game pretty much gave me everything that I wanted. And I've been talking about this game for so long, but there was just so much that I want to talk about before I fully forget. And in the end, should I say in the end, do I have anything else? I need to think. Okay, characters, the story, the skills, okay, I think that might be it. God of War Ragnarok is everything that I wanted it to be. It's the perfect PlayStation sequel, and it's something that I kind of wish The Last of Us Part 2 was. Now, I still love that game, but that game didn't really give me everything that I wanted it, mainly due to how different the story was. This gave me everything I wanted. It does everything that made the original game great, cranking up to 11 with more characters, a more in-depth story, and the story in the first game was already great, but right here, they just made a story that was just so compelling, combine it with some of the best gameplay that the series has to offer. It just did not disappoint in the slightest. It's one of the best games to come out in recent memory. It's the best game to play on the PS5. It gave me everything that I wanted. It was what I wanted God of War Ragnarok to do. It shows that developers still care when they want to make a great game, and Santa Monica really wanted to make a great game here, and they did. It's a masterpiece, and I could not recommend it enough. If you love the first game and the whole franchise, then you need to play this one. It's definitely going to stick with me for a really long time. And the conclusion was more than paid off, and I am going to go back and do the other stuff. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to platinum, but it will definitely be a lot of fun to try in platinum, because there are some bosses where you have to do side missions to unlock those bosses, and I feel like they're definitely worth it. With the first game, it definitely was. Right here, the game just had so much more to offer. I spent more time in this game than I did in the first one. It gave me everything I wanted. I cannot think of anything that I would change about this game. It's so well polished, so well balanced. It doesn't need to be fixed. It's what I wanted it to be, and I hope there is another game. There might be indication of another game. If that's the case, then I'm all on board for this to be a trilogy. God of War Ragnarok is a god tier video game. Now, the only question that remains is it Game of the Year? Does it top Elden Ring? That is something that I am going to have to think about till the year ends, or maybe after the year ends. I don't know, but Elden Ring was perfect. I feel like that's a little bit better when it comes to the gameplay, but this is definitely better when it comes to the story and the characters. But, hoo boy. If only this game was delayed just a couple more months, then it wouldn't have mattered. But I'm glad it didn't, because the game was already ready, so just delaying it, even though it was fully ready, so yeah. But either way, it's been a really solid year for video games. I haven't given a game like two games in a year a perfect score since 2018 with God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2, so it's definitely been one of the better years for games. I mean, it still has there's still a lot of gaming controversies and stuff, and other games as well that have got gained controversy and stuff like that, but bottom line, definitely play this game. You'll thank me later. This is probably the longest review I've done for a game in quite some time, but I mentioned in a community post that I had quite a bit to say, and yeah, but it's gonna take me a while before I can get this video edited. But whatever. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Word out.